Test. Oh, there we go. Do we got it? Are we good? I think we should be good. Let me know. Let me know. Okay, let's go. Woof. Oh, man. Yeah, that's what you get for the that's what you get the day after we get that big news. It's like boom, no audio. All right, well, glad that's figured out. Not necessarily what I was hoping for on this live stream. I did update my audio device going into this, and I was like, oh, there won't be any issues. All right, awesome. So obviously big news yesterday. Glad we finally got that. Super cool that it happened on stream also. Man, that was crazy. Take a quick look at what's going on with the XRP price chart. Obviously, we had that move up yesterday. Kind of stalled out a bit, honestly. It looks like, and of course, we'll get pretty much everything going wrong this morning. That's how it goes. It looks like we got that push up. Still kind of in this range bound region right here at the 250 mark. Really, you've got to start now pushing back to the top of that range we've been watching. So if we zoom out and take a more zoomed out view, we can see that XRP is really just in this very, very nice consolidation pattern. And to be honest, really hasn't shown its cards much. It's really hard to tell sort of where the market goes next, but we're coming right back up to that top resistance that we would really like to see us blow right out the top of. And we're kind of just holding this zone right now. Well, this morning, the audio issues were my fault. That was me. That was 100% me. So I'll take the blame for that one. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. What do we got? Other than the case ending yesterday was obviously a big thing. Some of the things that people aren't talking about, and I covered this in my video yesterday, was obviously Ripple still countersuing the SEC. So Ripple's countersuit against the SEC is definitely the thing to watch. Tracy said I was finally right. Yes, you are. We should be getting some crypto announcement today. I know there's something taking place involving Trump and their administration. We'll see what this is. The last time there was a crypto announcement, it was really kind of just a Bitcoin announcement, and everyone's saying thank you to President Trump, which obviously I think he deserves that thank you. It's nice not to be attacked anymore, but we'll see if this is more substantive, if it's more of, hey, we came up with a way to buy Bitcoin budget neutral, if it's more of a game plan, but that is taking place today. Does anyone know the exact time we're going to get that? Mary Cox, good to see you. Yeah, congratulations to everyone. So the biggest thing right now in the Ripple SEC case, and we have that announcement later today, is the injunction in Ripple's fine. Brad Garlinghouse actually had a clip talking about this. Now the real question is my other audio going to work? So this is going to be sketchy. This is going to be a bit sketchy. Well, we will see on this. I'm not too confident that this is going to work after the audio issues I had this morning, but we shall give it a try and see what happens, because why not? What do we have to lose here? Let's hope I have another way to do this if it doesn't work.
Well, I mean,
oh, wow, it worked. Okay. There we go. Okay. I want you to listen very closely to what Brad says at the end here. And I can't believe this is working. So, all right. Rough start, but looks like it's, looks like we're kind of getting back on track here. So listen up to this.
Well, I mean, at this point, all we're fighting for is, do we want to fight to get the $125 million back? And look, I'll be honest.
So the first thing you'll notice is he doesn't talk about the injunction. He says, the only thing we're fighting for is to get the $125 million back. So something tells me Ripple does not care about the injunction. They feel like they have ways where that's not an issue. So I think because Judge Torres issued an injunction on selling XRP, and that injunction was only based off their past moves, they just have to do the XRP sale structure differently, and it's not part of the injunction. So I think that's the first interesting thing. Brad doesn't talk about the injunction. Now, that might be a PR marketing thing. It might be that Ripple's not worried about the injunction, but I do think it's interesting that he only talks about the fine here. Let's keep going.
Well, I mean, at this point, all we're fighting for is, do we want to fight to get the $125 million back? And look, I'll be honest, would I have walked away from that before they appealed, before President Trump put Paul Atkins and Scott Bessent and David Sachs as critical, key, very smart leaders in this industry to bring this industry back on shore? I would have walked away. Now you look at that, you're like, this case in this SEC never would have been brought. And so where we find ourselves is, great, there's a clear illegal victory to say XRP is not a security. That was good for the industry. But there's pieces of it that we think could be kind of cleaned up. And the question is, do we want to fight that fight, or can we come to an agreement with the SEC to drop everything?
So well, I thought that last part was
that fight, or can we come to?
I thought that last part was the interesting part. Listen up to these last 4 seconds.
That fight, or can we come to an agreement with the SEC to drop everything?
So come to an agreement with the SEC to drop everything. So that gives you a little bit of some insight into what Brad Garlinghouse is thinking. He just wants everything dropped. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to keep their countersuit open, keep negotiating with the SEC, and we'll actually see almost a second end to the case, right? Like, this first end was like the SEC is giving up, XRP is not a security, and now we'll just see Is that the part of the clip you're talking about, Firedog? Because I don't know. Does he ever mention the actual injunction in here? I don't know. Someone just posted about the case in terms of Ripple making a filing. I haven't seen that. I thought that was interesting, though. It does seem like Ripple's trying to negotiate with the SEC to drop everything. Brad is saying they are going to sell less to none XRP in the future. I don't agree with that. I mean, Ripple needs to distribute more XRP. I think Ripple will probably go down to 20 billion XRP maybe, but they still have some more XRP to get off their hands. Scott is asking about lending through Nexo. You know, it's just that's something I can't really get too much into, unfortunately. There's risk to it, and you just need to understand the risk. Yeah, they definitely don't want to pay the fine. Ripple doesn't feel like they have to pay the fine. Yeah, I would assume, yeah, Firedog, I see what you're saying. I was just making sure there was no clip I'm missing where he directly mentions it. Because here's the thing, Fire Dog, and this was one of the earliest things debated about the injunction. Not a lot of people talk about this, right? So Ripple got the injunction on selling XRP, but the injunction was based off how they were selling XRP before in the past. So from Ripple's perspective, they don't sell XRP in the way that they have the injunction against them. So they're just saying, okay, well, we're not going to be selling XRP that way anymore. We're going to continue moving forward with our business with ways to sell XRP that's not part of the injunction. So I don't know how important that injunction is to Ripple, because if Ripple violates the injunction, like, who's going to come after them? It's not going to be the SEC. So it's one of those things. It's more of a nice to have. I don't know how worried. I don't know how worried Ripple is about that injunction. It seems like this is more of a fine thing right now, but who knows? Maybe they just don't want to bring that up, because it's like, why talk about something if you just plan on saying, well, there was an injunction, but we're not really going to be following that because we don't do that anymore. Why should they be paying a fine? Well, because Judge Torres ordered them to pay the fine, and they can't just tell Judge Torres, hey, we're not going to do that. So they need to come to a settlement with the SEC on that, and I think we will see a settlement. I'm just not sure. Like, I think we probably need to see the new SEC guy get in before we see that settlement. But the important point is, it's like the SEC's done, right? Like, the win is solidified now. So think about the injunction like this. You every single day, you're driving down the road and someone makes a rule that, hey, you're not allowed to take this road to go to the store anymore. So everyone's talking about the injunction as like, hey, you're not allowed to go to the store anymore. But what Ripple is saying is like, no, you said we can't take this road to the store. We'll just go take a different road to the store. The judge only said you can't take this road to the store. They didn't say you can't go to the store. So that's kind of what Ripple, the thing with the injunction is like, Ripple's not going to say, okay, well, you said we can't take this road anymore. Well, we still have to go to the store. So Ripple's still going to go to the store. They're just going to take a different road. And that's kind of the interesting thing about the injunction. How important do you believe Brad mentioning the 15 billion costing retail investors? I don't think it's that important. I think it's more of a, hey, this is why the SEC did something so bad. I don't know how important I really think that is, but Fire Doggy, is there a clip of him talking about that? Does anyone have a clip? Because like, I'm not sure how Ripple wouldn't sell XRP anymore. Unless they have like, unless they plan on only loaning out XRP moving forward, I still feel like these ETFs, like, how are these ETFs going to get XRP? And like, Ripple's just not going to hold all that XRP forever. So it has to go somewhere. I'm just not sure what that plan would be. Yeah, I know we got the full clip. We can watch the full clip. Maybe we should just watch the full clip. There's just a lot of like stuff we already know in there. So that's the only reason why I wasn't instantly pulling up the full clip, but we can pull it up. No, private ledger shouldn't really have anything to do with the with that. Officer Doofy says, great channel, very informative. Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Well, at some point they will stop selling, right? Once Ripple goes down to 20 billion XRP, like I believe they will be done selling, but it's still important to realize that like Ripple's in my opinion still has a lot of XRP to distribute. Let's take a look at the numbers though, right? Let's not guess. Let's just take a look at the numbers. So if we take a look at the numbers, there's about 37 billion in escrow. 62 billion circulating supply, but Ripple still has a couple billion sitting in some wallets that are not escrow. So there's oh, here we go. Sorry. So there's 62 billion in circulating supply, 37 billion escrowed. Ripple has some that isn't in escrow that's on their balance sheet. So I mean, I would think they would want to take escrow to like 10 billion ish over the long run, like 10, 15, 20 billion. So to me, it seems like they still do have more XRP to distribute. So I can see one day them being done selling XRP, but like I think they still have a lot more XRP to distribute. Once XRP hits $10, I have to shave my beard. I don't know about that. I used to not have a beard, but I don't think I'm getting rid of it anytime soon. Maybe, who knows? I like the goal though. Yeah, there is the argument that a decent amount of XRP has already been purchased and already sold, and Ripple's just holding it for people. That's certainly possible. You have to get engaged. Yeah, that you hiding a butt chin? No, there's plenty of videos of me on the channel, I'm sure, with a shaved face. What does my girlfriend prefer? That's a funny question, Tracy. And we'll get back to the XRP stuff in a minute. She prefers probably I don't think she really has much of a preference, to be honest. I mean, who knows? She probably does. I'll find out. That can be the discussion for tomorrow. But when I don't have a beard, when I have a clean shaved face, I like gets like I don't not have a beard for long. Like if I shave, like the start of the beard is there the next morning. So it's not fun for her when I've got like a super scratchy face. So I think she likes not having a scratchy face. I don't think she has much of a preference if the beard is there or not on the look side of things. Funny question though. My girlfriend, believe it or not, is a Bitcoin maxi. No, she holds one cryptocurrency and it's XRP. Her sister holds XRP too, funny enough. What's the next catalyst? Probably the So it just doesn't look like the market right now, right? I don't think the cryptocurrency market right now is really reacting much off news catalysts. We had news catalysts really driving the market earlier this year. But I mean, like, take a look at what's happening on XRP to Bitcoin. It's like we had the Bitcoin strategic reserve, which was obviously a big thing, but XRP is continuing to trend up against Bitcoin. We had the case ending, and funny enough, we have a red candle against Bitcoin on the case ending. So it just looks like the price has a little bit of a mind of its own right now. What we really want to see is XRP continue to trend up against Bitcoin and then make that next breakout out the top. So it looks like the chart's just in a loading pattern right now. Like all of this good news is slowly coming in and slowly hitting the price chart. But that's how I would like to see it happen. Hopefully it's not OTC. No, we want Ripple to sell OTC because then it doesn't affect the price on the market. So you want Ripple to sell OTC. News doesn't mean anything until it does mean something. So there will be times when news impacts the price again. We're just in kind of a weird time right now. It seems like there's a lot of macro things pushing us around. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people just focusing on a whole bunch of different things. So I think news absolutely will affect things again. We're just kind of in right now like a loading period. Like we have to finish this loading period before we take the next step. Death Ranger said would have nothing to do with price. It's them paying a custodian service. If that's the case, yeah, I agree. Very much agree, Death Ranger. No clarity on if Ripple can sell to institutions, not to mention what's happening with the fine. Well, let's talk about those two things because, like, realistically, right, Ripple has $1 billion of cash on their balance sheet. They can pay the fine easily. They can easily pay that fine. So I don't think Ripple's really too concerned about the fine. They can pay the fine. On the selling to institutions, I talked about this briefly earlier, but I don't think Ripple's really worried about it because the injunction just said that they can't sell XRP to institutions like they used to sell it, so they can just sell it in a different way. So I don't really see it as two very big issues outstanding. I think they're pretty minor in the grand scheme of things, but we'll see. Brad Garlinghouse in that clip is essentially said that he wants to work with the SEC to drop everything. So I think that's pretty telling on what Ripple wants to do. They want to work with the SEC to drop everything. What's going on with the Bitnomial futures? It's just going to be a new options trading platform for the cryptocurrency market. So got to see what that develops into right now. But they're just looking to do large volume futures contracts on things like XRP. I wouldn't say there's too much to overanalyze there yet. Like, we got to see what volume looks like. We got to see what interest looks like. Like, there's still a lot of things outstanding. Let's see what else we got. Oh, here we go. This could be interesting. Take a listen to this real quick. This is Brad Garlinghouse.
About the next forefront of stablecoins now that the U.S. is getting toward clarity. Yeah. What's possible?
Well, again, I think we're underestimating how big that might get. You know, today that market's about $230 billion. So I think some smart people think that may go up 10x in the next 5 years. I think that's probably right. I mean, the two leading players in Tether as well as USDC are both, I think, poised to do well in that market. Ripple launched our own stablecoin at the end of last year. That's already ahead of our own internal forecasts in terms of where we are at this point in the year. Still, we're small, but the goal is by the end of the year for RLUSD, Ripple stablecoin, to be one of the top 5 in the market by the end of the year. And I think the whole market's going to grow dramatically over this year.
So what does it take you to get there? Who are you pairing up with? Are you creating some financial partnerships in order to make RLUSD more of a household name.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even today we had more listings go live for RLUSD on some global crypto exchanges. Anytime you do something new, it takes a minute for that kind of, if the pun of the ripple effect of seeing how that plays out. And so we're seeing that happen in real time. So I'm really pleased. And again, as I said, we're ahead of our Q1 forecasts of where we expect it to be. So we feel really good about that progress.
Very cool. It's cool to hear that they're ahead of their own internal forecast, and we can take a look at sort of where we are in terms of that stablecoin. Actually, if you just go to Ripple's website and you type in, so if you just search Ripple stablecoin, or maybe that's not the right thing to search. Let's see, probably should show up on that, but if I just search Ripple, Ripple solutions, stablecoin, and then you go over here to transparency. So the last update was on the 13th, so we should be getting an update actually probably today. I think they update this on a weekly basis, and we've got about 142 million here. I also think CoinMarketCap is now actually tracking this in real time. So let's take a look at what CoinMarketCap is doing. RLUSD. Okay, so CoinMarketCap actually has it at about 170 million. So interesting note there. CoinMarketCap has it at about 170 million. So I wonder if I can look at market cap. Okay, yeah, so there's the market cap chart. Wow, glad we finally have this. But we can sort of start to see that growth of RLUSD from just a couple million all the way up to now we're at 170 million. So going to be a big moment when we get to a billion. Kind of once you get to a billion, then bigger and bigger players are able to step in. People always ask me, they're like, hey, why isn't Coinbase listing this yet? And the real thing is like a lot of these players want it to be a certain size before they go live with it. Now, for Coinbase, I would argue, well, they list all kinds of just garbage. Like, why wouldn't you list RLUSD right off the bat? But who knows? Not too worried about it. I'm pretty excited to hear that it's ahead of Ripple's internal forecasts. Like, that's a great thing to hear. It shows you that, I mean, Ripple's obviously very bullish on their own stablecoin and is beating their expectations. So that is something that is cool to hear. And it's always nice to hear some of that insight internally, because those are the kinds of things we don't normally get to hear. So it's nice to hear Brad be able to talk about a lot of that stuff a little bit more out in the open. There was a $25 million mint the other day, largest ever. Yeah, another cool little tool for you guys to pay attention to is this account right here, Ripple Stablecoin Tracker, and it tracks all the big mints. So you can track all the big mints happening. So 3 million, 25 million right here. You can go through and just watch those mints happen on your feed on that Ripple Stablecoin Tracker. So pretty cool stuff right there, actually. Not sure a lot of people knew about that. Ripple IPO and XRP ETFs. Oh, found the video? Awesome. Thank you, Firedog. $14.30. We'll just start at 14. No, thanks. All right, let's get this queued up real quick. All right, let's listen up.
IPOs, they were securities. The problem is the SEC then kind of used that to just blanket and say, I mean, well, Gensler said before he was SEC chair, he didn't think they were securities. And then after he became SEC chair, is kind of his power grab. Gensler wanted everything under his jurisdiction. So I think obviously that ICO boom went away, and there's lots of ways this government can regulate and manage fraud and manage criminal activity. And that did happen. People did go to jail.
I have one more question for you about Ripple and XRP in particular, on the supply and how it's managed and the unlocks. Is there anything you would do to change the amount of supply brought to market? Can you do that? How does that exactly work? Because there is a level of dilution for XRP when more supply is brought in on a regular basis.
So this is one of the things I'm glad you asked about, because there's frankly misinformation, sometimes disinformation, people spreading falsehoods out there. The amount of XRP that was created in 2012 when it was first started, when that blockchain was first started, was 100 billion units. That can't be increased. It's slightly deflationary, and now there's about 99.9 billion units. Ripple owns about 42% of that supply. We have had, and for, I guess, 8 years, we published something called the XRP Markets Report, where we share how much we are introducing into the market, because we want that to be predictable. And that has been the case for many years now. And so we will continue to make sure that's very predictable. At some point, maybe we won't be selling as much. We'll see how that plays out in the future. But right now, frankly, we get criticized for owning too much, and then we're criticized for selling some. But we want to do that in a constructive way, which is what we've done for years.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the answer that I would have said, right? Like, Ripple has to distribute XRP. They want to distribute to people who matter. They want to distribute to people in the ecosystem who are going to be using XRP for the right reasons. And eventually, they probably won't have to distribute XRP nearly how they have in the past. So nothing like that really surprises me in the slightest. Pretty much exactly what I would have expected. Sir Oz, monumental days ahead. Salute to the rise. Thank you so much for the donation, man. Appreciate that. STM Surge, good to see you. Yeah, I don't know how much Ripple distributing XRP really makes even a difference on the price. I mean, Jed McCaleb sold out of 10 billion XRP, and it barely did anything to the price. So I don't know. I think people overlook Ripple's distribution and think it has more of an impact than it actually does. I could be wrong there. Took Charles Gasparino 3 days to embarrass himself and and Fox Business. Yeah, it's going to be Charles is going to have a tough time on the cryptocurrency reporting without Eleanor there. Pretty cool to see Eleanor now doing her own thing though. That's obviously exciting. Ripple will be making acquisitions. Any idea who they might consider? Oh, it's a really good question. You know, the cool thing about how Ripple buys companies is, like, I really like the way they buy companies. They go for the infrastructure players. So I'm not sure. Honestly, the next company Ripple buys, like, I probably might not even know who they are. It's probably going to be someone I've never heard about. Like, Medico is a great example. I didn't really know them. I didn't really know much about them at all. And then Ripple bought them, and you look into it and you're like, wow, this is a behemoth in the industry. So, you know, I would think it would kind of continue to be like that. You know, Ripple just kind of purchasing a company and us then looking into it and being like, oh, wow, this company's got some deep connection. So, R3 is an interesting one. I think R3 could possibly be one, but I don't know. I don't know. I know SBI has stated before in the past that it was his goal to have Ripple and R3 merge at some point. I don't know where those discussions stand, right? Like, you're not going to go buy R3 if they're not getting a lot of traction, but if they are getting a lot of traction, that purchase could make a lot of sense. So I don't know enough about R3's business. I think it would be very cool to see that. It would definitely be a pretty flashy one to see that deal close out. But I don't know I don't know enough about R3 to say, like, oh, yes, this is a no-brainer, or like, oh, well, it's more of an alternative that not a lot of people are paying attention to. I don't think it really makes sense for Ripple to take over an exchange. You know, I don't think Ripple would ever purchase in an exchange. Maybe, but it doesn't seem like that makes a whole lot of sense to me. I would think more like some tokenization engine or something like that. I don't see Ripple purchasing an exchange. Let's see what else we got. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Thoughts on what the big announcement from Trump will be in the next hour? I mean, me personally, I'm not overly optimistic about it. I think it's going to be like, hey, we figured out a way to buy Bitcoin in a budget neutral way. But it could, like, I see some people saying no capital gains taxes on crypto. If that was the case, I mean, that would be that would be crazy. If there's no capital gains taxes on crypto, that would be absolutely insane. So we'll see on that. Yeah, I do feel like no capital gains taxes won't be it, but I would be over the moon. That would be a huge catalyst if there's no capital gains taxes, but I don't know. I don't know. Some people are saying it's a nothing burger. We're just going to have to wait and see. With Trump, you never know what he's going to say. It could be absolutely anything. I think it's better to have your expectations as it going to be a nothing burger. And then if it's good, you're pleasantly surprised rather than going in and saying, oh, this is going to be huge. This is going to be crazy. So I think it's definitely a good way or a conservative way to be looking at it to say, okay, well, this is going to be probably something that's not that big of a deal. And then if it is, be like, oh, wow, this is huge. You can't take taxes away from a commodity. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't take taxes away from a commodity? I'm not sure what time Trump speaks. I'm yet to really see any definite time. They can definitely tax a commodity. Yeah, I mean, there's capital gains taxes on gold. That's a commodity. Now they can not do it, but they, like, I think they have the power to kind of do whatever they want. Yeah, you can't do it like, yeah, from a currency, then you start to get into, okay, there's probably no taxes on it, but a commodity, you can absolutely take taxes on a commodity. Legal tender? Yeah, legal tender would make it not taxable. Or just an announcement that we're not taxing certain cryptocurrencies. I mean, that alone would be enough. Like you don't even need to get into like some of these definition things. Toaster, I see what you're saying, but like I mean, it's my interpretation that they can kind of do whatever they feel like. Okay, I'm seeing that Trump is 10:45 a.m. Eastern, which is expected. So we'll see what time that actually happens, probably closer to 11:15, 11:30 then. But if you really want to make sure you see it, then it looks like safe is around 10:45 to log on. Eleanor said around 10:40 a.m. Eastern. Okay. So 10:40 a.m. Eastern would be when I would start looking for it to be paying attention to what's going to happen. And then probably realistically, he comes on a little later than that. I agree, Toaster. He said, don't get me wrong. I'd love to keep 100% of my crypto profits, but I'm not holding on hope that happens. I can't see it being more unique than holding stocks or gold. I tend to agree with you. My only pushback would be if the Trump administration is actually under the impression of like these things need to be used for utility, which would be the most bullish thing we could ever hear, then you can't really have capital gains taxes on it. So if they're under the impression that like you need to be able to move these things around, buy and sell, and use them for utility, that's a little different than a lot of other things out there. Like, I don't think if you're a jewelry manufacturer, I don't think like the transactions of the gold are taxed. So maybe if you're a cryptocurrency business, no capital gains taxes on XRP on certain cryptocurrencies, right? So if you're using it for a business sense, then you'd be able to skirt that. But I don't know. Like there's clearly got to be some nuance there because I tend to agree with you, Toaster. Elon under NDA? Well, I bet Elon's under a lot of NDAs. And that's a tough question. I mean, like, exchanges in general are just a pretty tough place to hold cryptocurrency assets on. If I had to pick between Uphold and Coinbase, I would probably like there's risks to both. Uphold's a lot smaller, they're a lot more niche, they're not as regulated, but I like the company a lot more than Coinbase. Coinbase has done a lot of pretty sketchy stuff before in the past. So it's a tough call. I would probably personally pick Uphold if I had to pick between the two. But me personally, I'm obviously more of a fan of institutional custody. So institutional custody is definitely the way I would choose to go. But that's not necessarily always a good fit for everyone. I would be I'm always a little, I've had too many bad experiences with exchanges to really be confident. Yeah, Uphold has a lot more backing from Ripple than Coinbase. Yeah, no, Roger. Yeah, no, that was crazy. All right, guys, with that said, I think we covered most of it. Honestly, kind of a little bit of a slow morning. We'll see what gets announced later today. Obviously, a lot of excitement about the case being over. Some outstanding questions that we've talked about. But guys, I've got to jump. Thank you so much for coming. You guys are the best. I'll talk to you later. And